I'm Christy Johnston, Mayor of Glenorchy City Council. Welcome to tonight's special council meeting on Tuesday the 9th of March 2020. I'd like to begin our special council meeting today by acknowledging the Tasmanian Aboriginal community as the original, traditional and continuing custodians of the land we're gathering on tonight, and pay my respect to their elders past, present and emerging. As you can tell, we're in a slightly different venue tonight for our special council meeting. We are coming to you live from the Moona Arts Centre. We had our annual general meeting following this special council meeting at 6 p.m, so we are streaming here from the Moona Arts Centre so that we can facilitate members of the public attending today. We'll move on to item 1, apologies. We're all here today. We have here present at the MAC. I'll just go to the table very quickly. We have Alderman Peter Bull, Alderman Angela Ryan, Alderman Stephen King, Deputy Mayor Beck Thomas, myself, Mayor Christy Johnson, General Manager Tony McMullen, Alderman Gay Richardson, Alderman Simon Fraser and Alderman Mr Carlton. Joining us on Zoom today, we also have Alderman Jan Dunsby and Alderman Kelly Sims. So everyone is here present today. Item 2 is pecuniary interest notification. Do any alderman have a pecuniary interest on tonight's agenda? I'll take silence as no. We move then on to the substantive item for tonight's council meeting. Item 3, waste levy and container refund scheme legislation. Do I have someone to move the recommendation, please? Thank you, Alderman Fraser. Someone to second, please? Alderman Carlton, Alderman Fraser.
Thank you. I fully support the recommendations. I completely support the introduction of the waste levy and container recycling scheme. I think that both of these initiatives will bring us into line with the other states and territories in Australia. And obviously for a state such as Tasmania, which promotes the pristine beauty of its environment, it's only natural that we should be not only following other people's lead, but actually perhaps taking the lead in these sort of initiatives to better manage our waste. We are talking about another tax. A levy is a tax. Some people would argue that, but it is another tax. However, I think it's necessary to put a price signal on what we throw away, essentially, so that we can use the power of the market to create a circular economy and incentivise people and companies to reduce, reuse and recycle. I do have a question for the General Manager though, Mayor, if I may. So I note that the report in the agenda highlights that a significant amount of waste has been diverted with the implementation of our FOGO scheme. I do recall the business case for the FOGO scheme when we were, looking at introducing this a few years ago, and a big part of the rationale was that with the introduction of a waste levy, that at some point in the future, FOGO would pay for itself by offsetting, not having all this green waste go through the landfill. So I am curious, I recognise that there is a figure of $150,000 mentioned here, but I am curious at what point are we going to get to where FOGO will perhaps be offset by the way.
The Acting Manager Waste.
Acting Manager Waste. Evan Brown, if you'd like to come forward to a microphone, Evan, so we can hear you.
I couldn't quite hear you there, sorry. It's hard to hear from back there. So
Which parts?
you asked about FOGO offsetting. Yeah.
So it was a big part of the business case for FOGO was that it would pay, in large part, pay for itself. In fact, it would pay for itself completely after a period of time, because we're not putting it into landfill and therefore not incurring a statewide waste levy. So just curious about when that's likely to happen and when. Sorry.
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
I'll still hold it. So at the moment, based on the last 12 months, we've diverted approximately around about 5,500 tonnes of organic material from the landfill. We're currently at a set-out rate of around about 55%. The expectation is in time that we should be up around about 75 to 80% of the set-out rate. As I said, at this point it is increasing. We see that every month our tonnages are larger. Understandably, it is seasonal and that will vary. But at this point, with the levy proposed to be introduced at the 1st of November, that's going to be, as you're aware, in the report, is applied on anything that's landfill, so on an average of $100 a tonne, whereas at the moment we're paying around about $55 a tonne for organic material, which won't incur that charge. So in saying that, I suppose we're starting to see a diversion as it stands now, and we'll only see that increase over time.
And so based on the current trajectory, do we have some idea about when this is likely to happen, when we're going to get up to the 70-80%, and will 70 or 80% be enough to offset the cost of FOGO through a reduced waste levy?
Yeah, well, FOGO should be, I mean, as I said now, should be offsetting that cost as it stands now. From the introduction, I would only imagine, as I said, over time it will increase. In answer to your question, when we get to the trajectory of 75, that's hard to determine. Based on what councils are seeing, particularly interstate, we do see that it increases, but I couldn't give you a figure as we stand at this point, no. Sorry.
Anything further on the program?
No, nothing.
No? Any further discussion of the item? Alderman Carlton?
Thank you, Mayor. I'm very happy to support the recommendations. I note that one of the recommendations is purely noting the officer's recommendation about the way that council will recover the levy. I assume that that will be up for further discussion around budget and fees and charges time.
Correct.
Yeah, great. I do have some questions though around just some of the data that's actually in the report, which I found quite interesting. So over time, the amount that we've received, so the tonnes received at the tip base has actually decreased. So in 14-15 we had 152,000 tonnes received at Jackson Street, and of that 102,000 was diverted. Last year, 1920, we received 46,000, so quite a substantial drop in the amount received, still diverting a lot. So I've got two questions around that data. First of all, what's the reason why there's been such a significant decrease? And I know this has been in previous reports, but I think it's just good to get a reminder of that. And when we say tonnes diverted, we're diverting quite a high percentage. I'm just wondering what does that actually look like in terms of what we're diverting, so that high percentage.
Yeah. So basically the tonnes, what's happened over the time, we get a lot of C&D, what they call construction demolition material. That's mostly your concrete, bricks, timbers. A lot of that material is quite easy to divert. Over time, through business decisions made by council, has allowed those a lower number or diversion through. I think in last 2020 a decision was made to reduce the number of business activity that we received, so that drastically reduced. You'll see that jump I think in the past couple of years. We do have a lot of resource recovery operations like the separation of green waste, concrete, as I mentioned earlier, metal and timbers. When it's generally a mixed waste, that's potentially what's basically getting put into that ground is what will incur that charge. But over time, as I said, it's really just been a combination of diversion, business decisions, and look, there's just slowly competition from other business or landfills, such as your Copping, Mornington Transfer Station. So yeah, that's the reason why we've seen that reduction, and obviously in addition to recently with the introduction of FOGO.
So around 14,000 tonnes will be what we expect to attract the levy at Jackson Street.
Yep.
So is there any other sort of council activity where we might be sending waste elsewhere that there might be a cost to that might not appear on this particular report?
Yeah. No, potentially recycling contamination or FOGO contamination, because that has to go back to landfill.
Yeah.
Contamination at the FOGO is around about, I believe last I recall was around about 4 or 5%, so very minimal. Recycling is around about 10%. So you're talking, if I go, as I said, 5,500 tonnes that we've done in the past 12 months. Recycling, we average around about 4,100. So about 10% of that would be incur a charge. So anything that's going to landfill, irrespective of it's ours or anywhere else to Copping, that will incur a charge. But at this point, there's nothing out of that 14,000 tonnes is what we, based on last year, would estimate to roughly be around what we'd be incurring a charge on. It's still not clear, I'll just better make that point, and we have made that in the report, just about some of the concrete. It has been, the state government or EPA have provided information sessions, which I did attend. It's still quite a grey area, they're still working through it. So in time, we'll hopefully know a little bit more about that. One of the things, for example, is public illegally dumped rubbish, that clearly states that it wouldn't receive the exemption only that collected by a public authority. When asked the question, does this incorporate Clean Up Australia Day events? Does it also incorporate council operations? At that point they said, we're not sure. A part of what we're writing is the recommendation with local government or LGA is to write to the state government to get some clarification around that as well.
Yeah. And so our curbside collection is received at Jackson Street, is that correct?
Correct.
Yep.
Yep.
Thank you.
Anything further? Any further discussion? Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. As Alderman Carlton and Alderman Fraser have said, I too support what we're being asked to endorse here tonight, which is really that we're authorising the General Manager to write to the state government supporting the implementation of the draft waste and resource recovery bill on the basis that funding collected through a waste levy, landfill levy is fully reimbursed for waste management minimisation programs, and that curbside collection waste going to landfill is excluded from the waste to landfill levy until 1st July 2022. Now this is really important for our community and for the purpose of aligning it with the issue of our annual rates notice. So I'm happy, and I guess we'll need to receive advice back from the state government on whether they allow that or not. Is that right?
Yeah.
The other points that we are in the recommendation, as Alderman Carlton have raised, are just for our noting rather than endorsing. So we're not being asked to endorse the method of collection at this point for collecting that waste levy, and I look forward to further opportunity to explore how we do that and what the options and impact on our community is at large. I know the Acting Manager for Waste just talked a little bit about illegal dumping of waste, and there is potential, I see, for introducing a waste levy at the landfill gate to potentially result in greater illegal dumping of waste. So that's something we need to consider and manage if that's the mechanism that we use to collect this levy from our community and all our users of the tip, noting that it is broader than used by more people than just our ratepayers and residents of Glenorchy. Also noting that we will continue to provide input into the development of the of the container refund scheme through ongoing discussions with the state government and other parties, because I know the state government's put out a paper with a proposed scheme, and certainly that's something that we need to have a bit more of a discussion about as a council as well, and provide input into. So really what we're endorsing is our GM writing to the Tasmanian government supporting the draft bill with those couple of caveats, I guess. I'm really happy to support that tonight, and I look forward to further discussions around the other points of importance that we're noting. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Any further discussion of the item? No further discussion. I can move Alderman Fraser.
Nothing further.
I'll put the motion then, if you can indicate for by raising your hand, please. Alderman Sims, can you somehow indicate?
Yes.
Are you for the motion, Alderman Sims? Can't see
For.
your face, sorry, you're for. Thank you. So that is carried unanimously. That is the only item on tonight's special council meeting agenda. It's important that we dealt with this item so we get the feedback to the State Government and Local Government Association in a timely manner. Thank you very much for your attendance online for our special council meeting. We will have our annual general meeting online again on Facebook at 6 p.m. today, so hopefully you might be able to join us again for that. Thank you very much, and I'll end the meeting at 5:18. Thank you.